What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Panda here. Thanks for stopping by. We are officially on 2 stage 21s. That's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. I'm, of course, going to show you the run, and I'm going to show you the gear I have on the champion so you guys can have an idea of what you need in order to get it done. Now, if you've watched my videos recently, you would have seen that I pulled a Morrigan, and Morrigan really was the answer for me to being able to complete Gear Raid 221. However, you don't need to have Morrigan in order to get this completely done. You can use Aeon and just have a little bit better gear. I am doing this with relatively good gear, but if you have better gear or you have better champions, it's totally possible for you to get this done. Also, I will say, I believe that Boreas probably does this better, and that tells you something because I'm currently not using Boreas. I'm actually clearing this with Vierna, who I know is probably just as rare, but we have officially completed Gear Raid 221, as you can see here, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and run one auto fight in the back, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at the gear that we have on the champions. Now, there are a couple things that I want to let you guys know. If you've watched my previous where I got Gear Raid 219 and 20 and talking about the Volca strategy, that is what we're using here. Remember, this is a strategy that you're not going to be able to use until you get to that specific point. And you need to have that A1 Volca. And so once you have that A1 Volca, this is a strategy you can use. And there are several different champions that can make this work. For example, on stage 18 and 19, or sorry, on stage 19 and 20, I was actually using Hatset as my DPS. And it worked perfectly fine. You can also use Comet. Comet works here. Silas works here. Mostly legendaries, right? It's mostly going to be legendaries that do a really good job here. But I believe that there are some epics that work as well. However, because of the amount of legendaries that work, there's a good chance you're going to have one of these legendaries. And so I don't think it's crazy to, require a legendary as long as there are several types of legendaries, right? It's not just the one legendary, right? It's not like you have to have Vierna in order to clear this. No, you can do this with several other people. One of the other things that I will say is important here, if you didn't already notice, my Dolores is using a Spirit Horn. The reason my Dolores is using a Spirit Horn is because of the timing. She's not able to get the rage up in time in order to get her ultimate off when I need it. So by using a Spirit Horn on her, we're able to get that successfully done. Now, this, of course, can be mitigated with champions such as Laurel. I know a lot of people have told me to use Laurel here, and I have tried to use Laurel here, but I found that I actually didn't need to use Laurel by just putting a Spirit Horn on my Dolores. It actually worked better because I didn't have to waste the cost on Laurel, and my Vierna gets her rage up enough to be able to do this successfully. So real quick, let's go ahead and look over the champions. The main champions I'm using here are Zillatu, okay? Zillatu is one of the main champions. This is her gear. She is in very good gear, don't get me wrong. She is not essential to making this work, okay? She is only there for the first wave, which can be done with a tank and any other DPS, really. But I use her because it's cheaper for me. You guys can do it as well. When I did it before, I actually did use a tank. I used Abomination and Hatset in order to DPS down those first two waves, and then I would use a cost generator, such as in my case, I used Narvi. Narvi Dolan could work both. But I use Zillatu because it allows me to kill the boss faster, and I'm going for more faster runs, which is why I'm using Zillatu. So she's not required, but it can be done with a tank and, your normal DPS that's on the platform, okay? The timings do work out that way as long as you're quick about them. The second champion, of course, we're using is Vierna, and her gear, in my opinion, I don't actually think is that good. It's decent, but it's not crazy good. And the reason is because you see this giant attack speed number, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Attack speed does not affect her basic attack. This is basically useless stat. However, I've just been blessed with getting really good attack speed rolls. In fact, I'm even using attack speed main, which is dumb. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, this could be way better is the point I'm trying to make here, guys. This is actually a completely jank set. We were able to get it done. So yeah, easy, right? You don't need attack speed. It's not good. Don't use an attack speed main stat like me, like an idiot. I don't know how I did this. I just think I must have swapped her gear at some point, saw she was fully geared, and just assumed we were good. But I cleared it, and that's really what matters. So interesting that I made that mistake. But really, she's not even that crazy built, right? And it's all because of her ultimate, right? Her ultimate does this execute, which is really powerful. Now, you do need to have the skill ups in her in order to really make this shine, because she needs to have the execution threshold, and also preferably needs to have that skill cost and initial rage reduction. Because what that's going to do is drop her down to 800 and 600 instead of 900 and 500, right? So it's a pretty big difference. And without that, you would probably have to use a Laurel. Okay, so it can be done with just level 3. Just probably need to use a Laurel in order to boost her rage. Then we go on and we look at some of the other champions. Here we've got Morrigan. Morrigan is not actually really used in there. I'm using her at the end just to speed up the boss kill. In fact, with the POD, I actually don't even think she gets placed. I think the boss dies too fast. So you don't really need to gear Morrigan. She's just there for her Lord skill, which is this. And this is really good because of the extra faction ally AoE damage for Vienna is really powerful. But again, you can do it without that. Just use different gear. Like I said, right? Vierna is using attack speed, right? If this was attack or crit damage, she'd be doing way better, right? So just keep that in mind. Then we go on to other champions. Volca. Again, Volca is not actually used here, guys. She is mainly here for this Awaken, this A1 for the ally revival time. So she's not actually built, for this purpose. Right now she's built for other purposes, specifically for Guild Boss, because she's the invigoration set I use for my Zillitu. But she's not required to have gear. She could be literally naked and she'll do the job perfectly fine. Okay. Then we go down to... where are you? Vortex. So this is my Vortex. My Vortex definitely could be geared quite a bit less. He does not need to be this geared. It could be, I believe it's about 30k HP, 30 to 35k HP total that you're requiring. Mine is geared quite a bit more. However, I am lacking attack speed, so you can make up for attack speed with HP because that heal is going to hit a little bit harder. Vortex just needs to be able to keep himself alive from the ads throwing the rocks. So as long as you can get him to survive that, that's all that matters, okay? Then we go down and we have our Dolores, and Dolores is an invigoration set, and is just basically maxed out on attack, right? That's all that she really needs for this. Of course, if you could get some rage regen, that would be helpful, but it's not super required here. And we have her on invigoration to buff Vierna, and again, we have her on this spirit horn or tumultuous horn, whatever you want to call it. And she does her job very, very well, right? She's got that almost 13k attack, really helpful with damage increase. Then, of course, we've got Baron and Decimus, who I don't know where my Decimus is. I think he's still down all the way at the bottom. We're not going to show him. They don't even really need to be geared either. Personally, my Baron is geared for other purposes, but I would say definitely just throw some HP gear on him because it makes it easier for the timings. If you don't have any gear on him, he's going to proc his unyielding a little bit faster. And so by giving him a little bit of HP, he actually takes a couple hits before he drops into that unyielding, and it makes the timing just a little bit easier. So definitely keep that in mind. Then we have both Isolde and Olag. They just need to be tanky enough to survive and tank that second wave of ads. As long as they can do that, that's all you need them to do. The rest of it doesn't matter. They're not there for damage. They just need to be able to survive that second wave of ads. And then whoever you use as your main, personally, I use Oleg as my main tank here. He needs to be tanky enough to be able to tank the boss with the help of Vortex, keeping him alive, okay? So as long as you meet those requirements, that's all that matters. I don't have a specific number here. This is the gear that my Oleg has been in forever, pretty much. I did do a little bit of upgrades here on the left side, but as you can see, the gear is not even that good, right? It's pretty low rolls. I could probably make this much better. I just haven't because it doesn't need it, right? He works for everything that I need him to do at the moment. So ultimately, though, as long as he can tank the second wave of ads as well as the boss, that's all that matters. Then we can go down a little bit further and we'll see our, not Laurel. What am I doing? I don't use Laurel. I'm crazy. Where's that Decimus? There he is. Decimus. He's literally completely naked. He's not wearing anything. You could put him in a rapidity set if you wanted to. That would help a little bit. I actually don't have a full rapidity set, but you could put him in a rapidity set just to reduce that cost by 1. It would help a little bit with cost, but it's not a major difference. He does have a pretty decent, you know, cost. It's nothing super crazy. So ultimately it works out really, really nicely. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Ultimately, I think the run, it works really, really well. I'll go ahead and show one more run for you real quick, just so you guys can see what that looks like. There are a couple things that I think are really important here, and the first one is going to actually be in the first golem wave, okay? There's a specific queue that I like to use, and that queue is right here. So this guy is going to do the shriek, and then he's going to hit the ground 2 times, and on the 3rd time he does a big slam, and there's a yellow light that shows up in front of his fists. When he does that, that's the perfect time to drop down your Decimus. It works out, so the timing works out perfectly, okay? Also keep in mind, when you're doing this, if you're using Vierna, you don't want to use that ultimate until they're in these boxes right here. Once they're in those boxes, you could use the Vierna ultimate and start removing people right away. Okay, again, your Isolde and your Oleg just need to be tanky enough to keep these ads at bay. That's all that really matters. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much the run. One more last little piece of advice, if you don't already know this, at the end here, I dropped Decimus to give me time to rebuild cost, but also give me time to get the timers down. And also keep in mind that the golem will continue to do that golem slam until there's no one left on the board. So do not start placing anyone, even platform units, until your Decimus is either dead or removed, so that he stops doing his AoE slam. Otherwise, you will fail. All right. Hopefully this helped you guys. I just wanted to do a little bit of a showcase. I was finally able to get this done on 21, and I'm super proud of it. So hopefully you guys can take this and get a little bit of information and push yourself a little further, even if it's just to stage 17, 18, whatever the case is. I think it's really helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of the video. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so you can see when my content goes live in the future. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.